Hi everyone, I'm Derek Smith and welcome to your Career Connections Moment. So we are continuing our 9-part series on the different types of interviews you could potentially face with meeting with an employer. Now, when it comes to the word interview, there is very often another word that could be associated with it, and that word is stress. So here's a situation from one of my clients. This client of mine was an engineering student looking to get into his very first job. So he went to the interview and he walked in front of him were 3 employers. And he walked up and behind them was a whiteboard. And one of the employers grabbed a marker, gave it to him and said, "There is a formula, please go complete that. We are now timing you." So right then and there, my client had to go over and fill out that formula as best and as fast as he could. And he returned the marker and the employers looked at him and said, "Great, thank you. We will now call you if we're interested." This is known as a stress interview. I like to also call this the put you on the spot interview. Now, the stress interview could be an interview by itself, such as what happened with my engineering client, or it could be part of the interview itself. This happened to me once. In my younger days, when I used to do sales, I was in the middle of a sales interview, and the employer looked at me and said, "Derek, come out with me to the sales floor." So we walked out to the sales floor. He grabbed some random item off the shelf, gave it to me and said, "Derek, right here, right now, sell this to me." So seeing this object I had never seen before, I had to right then and there begin a selling conversation with this employer. The stress interview is when the employer puts you to the test. So why do employers do this? In this series, we've been looking at 2 factors when it comes to interviews. 1, why does the employer make you do it? And 2, how do you succeed? Well, this one seems a little bit more obvious. Can you actually do what you claim you can do? So be prepared that anything you stated on that resume for an employer to look at you and say, "Okay, let's go ahead and see you do this right now." If you're a programmer, they might have you go in front of a computer and start doing some kind of data entry. This could also include for anybody who's an administrator or want to do an office job. If it's some kind of physical job you're looking at, they might have you do right then and there. There might be some kind of actual test, either paper written or, like I said, some kind of acting out. For my first job in this industry, I was at the end of the interview, coming to the end, I'm tired, I'm like, okay, we're getting to the end of this. And just as we were finishing, the employer looked at me and said, "Derek, just before we finish, here's a piece of paper, here's a pen, and here's a case study. You have 20 minutes to write a report about this individual." And then he walked out. So right there, I had to read the case study and fill out a case report as fast and as well as I could. So how do you succeed? Well, know your industry. If they were to test you for something you say you can do, what could some of those things be? And be prepared for that. If a test does happen during your interview, and usually they won't tell you beforehand that this could be happening, then take your time, think about what you're going to do. Do it fast if it's a timed one, but do it well. Preparation is going to be one of your best friends in this case. Again, knowing what it is that could potentially test you on when it comes to your interviews. If you're looking for how to be more successful in your career search or to be more satisfied with your job, want to write a great resume, look at what interviews are all about, or just to make sure you're in the right place, why not come and take a look at To Be Determined? Because the future is still to be determined, so be determined. Until next time.